The 2024 AFL Grand Final will be the first fully non-Victorian game since 2006, where West Coast defeated Sydney by 1 point. Both Brisbane and Sydney have made it to the last day of the season in different ways. Sydney have taken the more traditional path, winning their qualifying final against GWS, then cruising at home in the preliminary final against Port Adelaide, while Brisbane, besides their Week 1 elimination final win over Carlton, have had to travel to Sydney and Melbourne to take the long way round. It's also the first time in the AFL era that the two previous losers of the Grand Final have met in the third year following those two seasons. Even in that, there is some contrast. In 2022, Sydney got blown off the park by a much older and experienced Geelong team, while last year, Brisbane lost to Collingwood by 4 points in a fantastic game, and on another day, Brisbane could have been the ones holding up the Premiership Cup. Just as much as the players will be under the microscope during the week, the two senior coaches will be eager for a victory, especially John Longmire, whose legacy is at stake. Heading into Saturday afternoon, Longmire has a 1-win and 3-loss record in Grand Finals. Those 3 losses have also come in a row, in a 63-point loss to Hawthorn in 2014, a 22-point loss to the Western Bulldogs in 2016, and an 81-point loss to Geelong in 2022. He is in the top echelon of coaches in modern time, but a 2-win and 3-loss record on his resume looks far better than a 1-win and 4-loss one. Out of all of his Grand Final seasons, this might be the best setup they have had. Their 13-win and 1-loss start was perfect. In this period of time, the move of Isaac Heaney on ball to go alongside Chad Warner, Errol Goulden and James Rowbottom has made their season. It gave the Swans a score involvement and goal-kicking midfield that was aided with Rowbottom's defensive edge. Their stars have been the ones to drive them to this Grand Final. Heaney, Warner and Goulden are all in the top 25 rated players this year and were stars on prelim final night. That massive head start over the competition by round 15 also let the Swans have their mid-season dip in form. We all know the 112-point loss, which was the worst effort in their 5 losses in 6-match run. Heaney also got suspended, and injuries to Tom Papley, Justin McInerney and Dane Rampey didn't help. Longmire on AFL 360 said after the Port Adelaide game, they took a mini bye in the form of a few days off to refresh. It's worked wonders, and with the scent of finals coming up, they took off once again and have now won 5 straight games. We saw a similar dip with Collingwood last year, and both examples show it is impossible to be at your best 100% of the time, especially as our season has expanded. Of late, the Swans have also slightly altered their play. Against Port Adelaide, they kicked far more to the wings instead of forcing corridor kicks like they continued to do when they struggled. Now only when it's open will Nick Blakey, Goulden and others kick dart kicks into the centre of the field, but this more conservative approach helps them get the outnumber at contests and actually defend the ground better. It's almost the second mode of play that they have been forced to develop and should serve them well in the Grand Final. In terms of their strengths, most things are covered. They are number 2 in turnover scoring differential and number 1 in stoppage scoring differential. Although they are in the bottom half for total clearances won per game, we can all see the damage they do when they win them. It's their stars getting out in space, using speed and kicking the ball cleanly inside 50. And the turnover part of the game is their bread and butter. They can slice you apart in 2 kicks, and again, it's their pace and skill that kills you all over the field. Their only concern is that they can give up easy points from the back half with wild kick-ins and biting off more than they can chew, but they have cleaned this up in finals. As a team, they have started first quarters really slowly, and fittingly, Brisbane have won 22 out of their 26 first quarters in 2024. It's a small part of the game, but may have big consequences. But there's no doubt that the Swans are in the traditional pole position. They have had the better rest, travelled less, and are relatively healthy. That's why the side story of Captain Callum Mills is fascinating. Surely the club learned its lesson in 2022 with Sam Reid and will be conservative if he isn't 1000% right. Their opponents in Brisbane have maybe had the worst overall preparation out of their 6 straight final seasons. At the end of round 11, they had 4 wins, a draw, and 6 losses. But it wasn't just their record that was an issue. The Las Vegas off-season had rumours of strained relationships. Kadeen Coleman, Darcy Gardner, and Lincoln McCarthy all did their ACLs, and on field they had small pieces missing. But through the crisis, they have discovered a lot about themselves. Since round 11, they have lost just 2 games in round 22 and round 23, and had favourable positions in both of them. They have built up resilience, as seen in both of their finals comebacks, and their slow start might have given them a sense of freedom to attack the year. Fagan, in his preliminary final post-game presser, said, "I'm feeling very proud of our group, not just for the resilience they've shown tonight, but the resilience they've shown throughout the year. We were in a pretty dicey situation halfway through the season, with 4 wins and 6 losses and a draw. The way those boys have gone about it and stuck to their guns is amazing. They got a reward tonight." A couple of their big strengths this season have come from those early season issues. Dane Zorko out of defence, who replaced Kadeen Coleman, was named as an All-Australian and has changed their ball movement dynamic. Youngster Kai Lohman, who replaced Lincoln McCarthy, has added yet another dynamic medium-small forward. His aerial ability is unique, and his 32 goals so far is a great return. They are 2 important players that have emerged from 2 bad injuries. In a more tactical sense, Brisbane likes to control the ball more than anyone, and their 108 marks per game is the highest in the AFL. If they get over that 100 mark in a game, they are likely to win it. We saw this early in the Carlton final, where they chipped the ball around and controlled the game. Against Geelong, they did put more speed on the ball with handball chains in the second half, but again, did reach a total of 111 marks. They're the best overall clearance side per game, and it's what gets their game going and helps them control proceedings. And in the all-important turnover scoring differential, the Lions are the only side better than Sydney by just 2 points. Now, Big Oscar McInerney will be a significant out, especially with his ability to get clearances himself, but Darcy Fort, who will likely replace him, is a solid backup. It will weaken the Lions' midfield, but they should be able to match it with Sydney. Now, their goal kicking has been better of late, but for the season on expected scores, they are roughly 1 goal worse in totality, factoring in their goal kicking and the opposition's. But on the flip side, they have nearly 6 more shots at goal than their opponents per game, which is by far the league high. Sydney, on the other hand, only averages 2 more shots per game. Although each of the team's journeys have been completely different, the fact is both are in great form heading into this grand final. They are the 2 best turnover sides, have X-factor players on ball and up forward, while having good defences that bounce outside 50 on rebound. The other 3 all interstate grand finals happened between 2004 and 2006. The battles between West Coast and Sydney are well known, and in the other one, Brisbane had their 4-peat goal ended by Port Adelaide in a 40-point loss. This really is a rare occasion on Saturday. Brisbane have won the last 3 matches against Sydney, including by 2 points this year in a thriller at the Gabba. It's a genuine 50-50 toss-up in a game that has so much meaning for both coaches, players, and the clubs who have been regular contenders for the premiership in recent years.